lesson we'll use the project introduction that we used earlier. This time though we've added an extra button called btn change. You can see the name there in the properties window, and the text property of that button is set to change properties with the font size 12 and bold. In this lesson we'll write our first lines of Visual Basic code, which will be instructions to change the properties of some of the controls on the form. There are two aspects to consider when we write Visual Basic instructions. The first of these is the instructions themselves and what we want them to do. And the second thing we need to consider is which event or action will cause them to be executed. So when we write instructions, we must also specify which event will cause them to be executed or will trigger them. In this case, the instructions that we write, we would like them to be triggered when we click on the Change Properties button. So far we've been working in the design window in Visual Basic, but code needs to be written in the code window, and to do that we go to View, Code. We can see that we could also have pressed F7 and had the same effect. When the code window opens, we will see that there are already 2 lines of code, and any code that we will write will always be written between these 2 lines. At the top of the code window we have 2 drop-down lists. The one on the left is the list of objects on the form. The one on the right is the list of events associated with those objects. In our example, we're going to write our code for the click event of our button called btn change. So we first of all look for btn change in our list of objects and we choose it. Now if we go to the list of events, we will see now all the different events that are associated with btn change. And we can write code for any of those events, and the code will be executed when those events occur. In this case, we want to write the code for the click event, so we choose click. This causes some code to appear in our form window. This is the code for what we call an event procedure, which is simply a set of instructions to be executed when a particular event occurs. In this case, the name of the procedure is btn change click, and the event that triggers the instructions to be executed can be seen at the end of the first line of code, and it's btn change.click, which means it's the click event of the control called btn change. We'll begin our procedure by inserting a comment to explain what the procedure does. Comment lines begin with an apostrophe and are not executed. So we'll include the comment, this procedure changes some properties. Let's add another comment to explain what our first line of code will do. The first line of code that we're going to write will change the background of our text box txt student to yellow. Let's write the line of code first and then examine its structure. A line of code to change a property of a control will always begin with the name of the control, in this case txt student, followed by a dot, followed by the name of the property, which in this case is back color, equals, and then the new value of the property. So in this case, txtStudent.backColor equals color.yellow means that we're changing the back color of our object txtStudent, and the new value for that color is color.yellow. So let's include that in a comment that we can use for future reference. So it always begins with the control name, dot, then followed by the property, equals the new setting for that property. Now let's change the color of the text on LBL student to be red. In this case, the property that we're changing is the forecolor property. So again, we begin with the name of the control, followed by the property. Now we can type the property or we can choose it from the list. Equals, and Visual Basic has a number of colors built in, and if we choose color dot red. Now let's run our program and see those lines of code being executed. So we click on run and our form appears. Now remember, the lines of code will only be executed when we click on the button btn change, which is our change properties button. So let's click on it now and see the effect of our lines of code. So straight away we see the text box color has changed to yellow, and the text on the label LBL student has changed to red, and we can stop our program now.